Well, good evening, folks. Welcome back to Reporting for Duty. I'm your host, A Train, and joining me as usual is the Janelle West Coast.
Hello.
What's up?
What's going on, stranger?
You like my background?
I love it. You've remodeled. It's so
If I
fancy.
if I took it down right now, you would see all my clothes hanging. You
So
would. I'm in my
you're
closet,
awesome. You sound good.
so hopefully it won't be like all that echo and stuff from being downstairs.
It sounds good.
Yeah, and the background's pretty cool.
I'm jealous of your background. I feel like I should change mine.
There was a bunch. There were some funny ones too, but then there were like ridiculous ones where I was like sitting on the ocean and it just looks so fake. You know how
You
those
should have done that.
like terrible green screens,
Yes.
It's so obvious. So how
Uh,
was your holiday weekend?
it was good. So yeah, the last time we recorded, the intention was we were gonna try to record on the train.
Right.
Which didn't work out for a number of reasons. So, went on that vacation and got back, and my mom had to go to the hospital.
Oh no.
Yeah,
You all right?
so she's going to be, she's still there. She wasn't happy about it. So that's how my weekend was.
Okay, so let's start from the beginning.
Okay.
Now this trip obviously was on the train. Where did you board?
Topeka.
Oh, really?
Mm-hmm.
And
Mm-hmm.
this is Amtrak?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Interesting.
So, and I've been doing this for a number of years, and the Topeka train station, you always go in the middle of the night. And I remember when we used to go like with my grandparents, it's pretty sketch there.
Mhm.
Um, so when we first got there, when we first got there were these two just whacked out chicks, and they
Oh,
come
like
into
drugs?
oh yeah, like they're like twitching out,
Oh God, meth
and
hard.
the guy at the counter was so sweet. And I overheard them asking him, hey, how does this work? Like, how do you get on a train? What can you take? And they literally said, can you take drugs and paraphernalia? And he was like, no. And he was explaining, why. And so then they went outside to go sit on a bench. And one of the other ladies in the station, she's like, smoking a little bit. And he's like, oh, they come in here almost every night to ask the same questions. And so then they sat out there like they were actually going to get on the train, but they didn't have tickets. So, and they could have. That's one of the crazy things about the Amtrak. They are so lax on their security. Like, you don't even have to show a ticket when you're there at the station. They're like, no, we don't want to see it. Just wait until you get on the train. You can take as many bags as you can carry. We had a cooler, several
But they did
bags.
check your ticket once you were on the train, at
Once
least.
you're on the train and you've traveled quite a ways, if you don't have a ticket, they'll just kick you off at the next stop. So that's like a life
wild.
hack. Like, if you need to get to Newton, Kansas from Topeka, just
Yeah.
jump on the train in Topeka at 2:30 in the morning, and then you can get to Newton. They'll kick you off there.
The first stop was Newton. I actually have a lot of questions. I'm very curious because, well, I rode on Amtrak one time, but I was like 10 years old and I don't remember any of it.
Oh, okay.
Okay. Okay. So, well, you go ahead and then I'll ask my questions.
I could talk forever. Ask a question.
Well, first of all, where were you going?
Albuquerque, New Mexico.
Okay. So how many stops did you guys make between getting on and getting to Albuquerque?
So we actually counted it on the way back, and I believe it was 15 or 16.
And then how long are you stopped when you do stop?
Like 2 minutes.
Oh, really?
Oh, yeah. Like 3 minutes they'll do every once in a while. I think there's like 2 or 3 cities along the way where they'll stop for like a 5 to 8 minute break so people can get off, and it's called a fresh air stop. So you can smoke a cigarette or a
Oh,
joint or whatever.
and then how long did it take to get to Albuquerque?
So we left at, I mean, it's supposed to take like 15 hours. I think we ended up being a couple of hours late, which is, it was like 15 to 17 hours.
That's interesting. Because I was trying to think to go from here to Phoenix, I think it's like 19 hours. So you guys really, I mean, it's a little bit slower to get to Albuquerque, but not much,
Mm-hmm.
really. I suppose that's because even though you do stop a couple times, man, once they're kind of like at the speed they want to be at, that's just, they keep going, right? Like in a car, you gotta, you're slowing down, you're speeding up, you might have a traffic light or whatever, or several traffic lights. Interesting.
Yeah, it's a great, I mean, it's great. It's one of my favorite ways to travel. If you have the time, it's very relaxed. Like I said, there's no security. I mean, you don't even have to show your ID. Like you definitely could be a criminal and get on a train, do whatever you want. I had an interesting little interaction. So when we first got on the train, it's the middle of the night and my mom is not that well. So I'm like carrying everything and I have this really noisy bag. And it's like, and I'm like, like bumping people in the head as they're sleeping. I'm like, oh God, sorry. And I make eye contact with this guy that's awake. Most of the people are sleeping, but he just kind of smiles, and he's sitting like back this way, and we turn down the aisle this way to go get to our seats. And I'm, rummaging around trying to put our bags away and stuff. And all of a sudden there's a hand on my shoulder and his face is like right here. And he's like, do you need help? And I'm like, no, I'm good. Thank you though. Like, that's really kind of you to come from all the way back there. And I don't think that much of it, but he was a little off, you could tell. So he goes back. And then I sit down and I'm like roaming around a little bit later because I can't sleep. So you can roam around to what they call like a observation lounge car where they've got tables and chairs and you can go upstairs and downstairs. So I'm kind of roaming around.
Water?
Huh?
Like, is there food and drinks?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So I'm like roaming around and I sit down and all of a sudden here's this guy again. And he's like, what are you still doing awake? I'm like, hey, dude, I just got here, and he's like, do you need help? And I'm like, no, I don't.
You need help?
I'm good. And so he took off and I'm like, okay, I'm going to go back to my seat. And I see him sitting in his seat. I'm like, fuck, gosh, damn, this is going to be a long ride, So my mom's out. She's passed out. I sit down. I close my eyes.
Oh God.
I close my eyes and I wake up to in my face. He's like standing over me. He's in my face. He's leaning up above me. And he's like, hey, you know where the air conditioner is? And I'm like, what? He's like, there's got to be an air conditioner. And he's like dripping bullets. I'm like, is he like hot, like on something? What is his deal? And I'm like, no, man, like, I don't know. Like, you're going to have to ask the attendant. And I'm like squeezing my mom's hand, like, we got a stage 5 clinger here, And so I'm like squeezing my mom's hand, trying to wake her up. And he kind of looks at me a little bit frustrated. And he's like, okay. Well, I'll quit bothering you. I'm like, okay. Thanks.
Good idea. How old is this guy?
He's like maybe late 50s, early 60s. So he leaves again. Close my eyes again. He's sitting next to me. He's like, hey, why are you still awake? And I said, I'm trying to sleep. Why are you still awake? And he's like, you got to quit staying awake. I just keep wanting to talk to you. I was like, oh my gosh.
Sitting like right by you then?
So then he just decides to sit next to me in an empty seat.
Oh hell.
I'm like, oh shit. So I'm like grabbing my mom's hand, trying to wake her up because I don't know what to do. I'm like, he's not gonna go away. And you can't really like call for an attendant, but I'm like, I'm a big girl. I'm gonna handle this, you know, I'm gonna make him uncomfortable.
Oh
And
shit.
so I'm like, okay, all right, we're gonna talk. So then I'm like holding my mom's hand. He's like, so is that your girlfriend or is that your mom? I'm like, my girlfriend.
You
And he's
said
like, why
that?
do you keep he's like, why do you keep holding her hand? I'm like, because I'm trying to wake her up so she can help me with you. And then he starts talking about his kids and he has a 23-year-old. And I was like, oh, I have a 21-year-old. And he goes, what? He goes, aren't you like 30? And I'm like, yeah. And he's just like sits back and he's like this.
The gears are
Like,
turning.
I'm like, yeah, try to surprise me with something. I was pregnant when I was 9. Come on. But he's not really like processing. I don't know if he thinks I'm joking or if I'm serious or whatever. My mom's still just sleeping really well here. And I'm like, I'm here. I can't escape this. But, anyways, he proceeds to tell me that he was in Kansas City. He's homeless. He got in trouble in Kansas City for being drunk in public. He's an alcoholic. His name's Greg. He has 2 bastard children somewhere. And the police were going to arrest him. They asked him if he had any connections, any people that he could, you know, go be with. And so
Right.
he has connections down in Texas where he has where he's really homeless at. And
That's his real home.
that's
for
his real homeless home. And so the police said, you've got 2 choices. We can either put you on a train to Texas or we're going to put you in jail here, which I'm sure he wasn't telling me the full story.
Right.
Right. And so I'm like, fucking fantastic. I'm just sitting here with a criminal. And luckily, and I don't know if he actually had a ticket,
Oh yeah.
or
Good
if his
point.
connection was in Newton, because he was going to Texas, which would have been going further south, and we were still heading west. So he got off at Newton. So I only had to be with him for the first hour of my trip.
Oh, good. So he got off.
He did. He
Oh
did.
shit.
Thank
He thought you were
God.
a lot lizard or
Oh
something.
man, I was I'm like, what?
Oh my gosh. Yeah, you were the lot lizard to him. That's amazing.
Oh, it was so great.
I
He
wonder what
just,
they call those. I wonder what they call those girls that instead, because you know the lot lizard's like for a truck stop. I wonder what it's called if you're on a train.
it could be a good business.
Yeah. Well, and if they're not checking anything, sounds like maybe you could do some smuggling, huh?
Hmm. Now they claim that they have drug dogs that come on at certain stops, but the guy in Topeka told me they don't actually check the passenger areas. They do have a cargo car where you can check bigger pieces of luggage, or you can even check furniture, bikes, you know, whatever. Big
Wow.
things. Cars, you can ship your car on one if you wanted. So that they have a drug dog that will go through there. I've never seen a drug dog in all of my years traveling, but
So how much was the ticket?
it was only 57 one way.
What?
So it was like
Holy cow.
a little over $200 round trip for both of us.
No shit.
Mm-hmm.
That's crazy. Well, and it's cool because like I'm sitting here processing like when I've taken the car out there, like to Phoenix from Kansas City, and the worst part about being in a car is like you obviously you can't move, right? You're just sitting
Right.
there. And if I can get there in the same amount of time on a train, but if being able to get up and move around, dude, that would make that 17 hours so much better than being in a car.
Oh, you don't even notice. You really
Right.
don't even notice. It's
Well,
amazing.
and you see beautiful things.
Beautiful scenery.
That's the one thing I remember was like, I don't know, you end up going through these backwooded areas that you don't go in a car, and you see some like beautiful parts of the country.
Beautiful. We saw wild horses and antelope and um all sorts of wildlife, and you just see like crazy backwoods like shacks and
Lake,
mountain dwellers.
mountains.
Yeah, yeah. Go through a really cool tunnel that lasts for a couple miles.
Any wildfires?
No?
So when did I drive out there? Would have been, was it April? Can't remember. But there was some wildfires there in New Mexico, and they had I-10 shut down, and so we had to like
Oh wow.
we had to divert around like an hour out of our way. It kind of sucked.
Yeah, that's happened to me one time when I was in like Idaho, maybe. But that's really bizarre. You did have a way to get around? I got
Yeah, but it
stuck in
was
Idaho
literally,
once and there was nowhere to go.
well, yeah, and I said an hour. It was actually closer to 2 hours. I mean, we had to take this like, because I-10, it's a main thoroughfare through there, and so they put us on like this back country highway that was just 2 lanes, and it was like 55 miles an hour, and it took us forever to go around and then reconnect to I-10 on the other side. It
Yeah.
sucked.
No, there wasn't. There was some rain though, right when we were getting into New Mexico, which they don't really have rain that often, I don't feel like.
No, probably
But it
not.
was pretty
Well,
cool
in the
seeing that
mountain
weather.
area. Yeah.
Yeah.
So there is an attendant on there that can help you guys out.
Yeah. Yeah, there's a couple.
Yeah. And
Mhm.
then what do you eat? Did they
Well,
make meals?
we brought a cooler, so we brought our own food, drinks, but if you want, they serve all sorts of stuff like burgers, hot dogs, salads. I
No
did end up getting a
shit.
salad one time. Salads, alcoholic beverages, any soda that you want. They've got pizza, all sorts of stuff. And they have a dining car where you can actually like make reservations to have sort of a fancier meal.
Mm-hmm.
And that used to be open to coach. So we sit coach. They do have sleeper cars where you can actually get a little room. That's quite a bit more expensive. But their excuse was COVID. They weren't letting the coach customers make reservations for the dining car, which I was kind of bummed about. And the lady, I'm sure she hated me. I was like, so why can't we go on the dining car? She's like, well, because of COVID. I'm like, because of COVID, why? I was like, we're not wearing masks, like I was trying to process
Right.
because I'm so tired of everybody
It's
using
such
COVID as an
bullshit.
excuse.
Yeah.
And she was like, we just got really short staffed when COVID. And
Oh, so that's the reason.
I'm like, okay, whatever. So
Yeah.
they're only letting the sleeper car people eat in the dining car. I think it's more of a like class thing. It's higher class to be
Right.
in the sleeper car. So they're segregating Amtrak now. I've said it.
Oh
Said
my
it.
God.
Yeah.
Dude, it is crazy the excuses with COVID and stuff. I mean,
Oh,
still.
oh man, it's crazy. I did have a funny, I don't know, it was last week sometime. I had gone to Brahms. I love their salads. I wanted a salad for dinner, and the line was crazy. And I sat there for several minutes and I'm like, I'm not doing this. I'm just going to go home and eat. I get home and my best friend calls me. She's like, oh, I just got a vent. She was like, I went to Brahms and it wasn't that hard. I ordered 2 kids meals, a burger with no pickle, and I get 1 kid's meal and a burger with extra pickles. 30 minutes later, she's like, we drove home. She's like, I drove back. And she said, and I'm sure I look like a goddamn crazy person. She said, I marched in there and I demanded for them to explain to me what the hell is going on around here.
They're
She's
like,
like, Yeah, she's just telling them like it's been declining and waits are longer and you guys keep saying you're short staffed and COVID and all this stuff. And she said, bullshit. Nobody wants to fucking work. And she's just like,
It's true
just
though.
goes off on him.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yep.
So crazy. Are they still doing masks on airplanes? I mean, they were a few months ago, I know.
I'm assuming I haven't traveled by airplane in quite some time.
Dude, that blows my mind, the mask on a plane. Because I mean, you got to have it to get on. You got to wear it while you're flying. But if you decide, hey, I'm going to eat for an hour, you can take your fucking mask off. Well, what good is that doing at that point? You know, and they still bring around all the snacks, all the drinks. So at some point during the flight, everybody's got their fucking mask off. And you know, you're a foot apart from the guy in front of you's head, right? I mean, they got you crammed in there. So you're breathing all over 3 or 4 people that are right here next to you anyway. Then you turn that little air thing on up there and it's blowing COVID all through the damn airplane. You know what I mean? I'm like, what are we doing, dude? Let's
No
just
common
get
sense,
rid of the
right?
mask. Yeah, none.
None.
It's
None.
crazy.
And if you ask one of those people that's enforcing that, like, okay, can you explain to me why we're wearing masks? None of them would be able to explain it to you.
Yeah.
Just like, can you explain to me why you're short staffed? Like, what I would love to do, and this was actually a suggestion somebody gave me, is like go around town and interview people. Like, have you tried applying at McDonald's, any of these places, and find people that have applied and been declined? Because it's not that they're short staffed, they're just everyone's trying to function with less because they figured out during COVID that they can.
Right.
That's what I think.
No, it makes sense. Man, you got me fired up now.
It gets me so fired up.
Damn, dude.
So the other thing I love about the train was that I was in the Topeka station and I was like, this is so great. There was no mask wearing, there's no security, there's none of that. And so I was asking the guy about the masks and he was like, well, up until a few months ago, we were still requiring it. He's like, but we just decided people were trying to order more food so they could have it off. And they would just drink and eat like you're talking about on the plane.
Mhm.
And he was like, so we were just like, this is silly. We're not doing this anymore. I'm like, thank you.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Somebody with common sense.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Damn.
Oh yeah, I get super fired up about all of it.
Yeah.
I want to go.
My other one, and I'm just going to go off on a tangent for a second, but
Go for it.
It's like we're given this vaccine or forcing all these kids to get vaccines or vaccinated. And it's like COVID hasn't really killed. Like if you look it up, last I looked, it was like we were up to like 500 or 600 kids nationwide. But those were kids that were like had something crazy going on. Like for instance, like your mom, they may have had cancer or something medical, something else just totally going on. Like they're kids like my son or my daughters that are healthy, don't have any other issues. Those kids are not, they're having no problem with it. And it just drives me nuts now that they want me to get my son vaccinated with, the heart issue. What is it called? Like tachycardia or whatever it's given all these kids.
You have like an irregular heartbeat?
Yeah, and it's happening predominantly in boys. I don't know. I'm just like, we don't know enough about this damn thing. I'm not putting that. Like, why would I give him this vaccine when it's not really killing kids? It's not healthy ones.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it doesn't. True. Well, and my son and we never did flu shots. That was it wasn't really a controversy though, I guess you could say. But I know everyone is like, oh, COVID's not the flu. It's not, but it's like you have the decision or you have the choice to get vaccinated for the flu or not. And you don't get condemned for it.
Right.
It's never been an issue in my circles, like whether or not I had the flu shot. Nobody even fucking asks.
No,
right? It's just a personal choice we've always made. Most people wouldn't even know that I've never had a flu shot.
Right.
What gets my goat is this entitlement that we're supposed to inform everyone about which side we're on, and
Yeah.
it doesn't matter. And so, like, in family circles or friend circles, to people that it matters to, I mean, you're talking serious issues.
Serious, man.
Right?
Like, it's gotten crazy in our family sometimes.
Yeah. Or people, they just think I'm wackadoodle because I
Yeah.
won't get it.
Yeah.
Like, what is wrong with you? Well, you have it, and then you got COVID 3 more times. What's wrong with me? What's wrong with you?
Yeah. Have you heard of Alex Berenson?
Alex Berenson. How do you
Yeah.
spell
So
Berenson?
he's I think he actually worked for the New York Times. Quite confident that he worked for the New York Times for a while. Anyway, he ended up going, like, he's an independent journalist. And when COVID started, he was on Twitter, and he was talking about how COVID did not prevent getting infected. He was talking about how the vaccine doesn't prevent getting infected. The vaccine doesn't prevent the spread of COVID, because remember, like Rachel Maddow, all these people, I think even Fauci at one point, they have him on video saying that it would stop COVID in its tracks. And if you had the vaccine, you couldn't get it. You couldn't spread it. And so Berenson was posting the opposite. Like, he's like, this isn't true. You can still get COVID. You can still spread it. Well, Twitter banned him.
Seriously?
Yeah, they banned him permanently for basically just spreading false information. But it wasn't false. It was all correct. And so here we are, whatever, 2 years later. Well, he filed a lawsuit against Twitter he wanted to get back on, of course. And he's not the first person to file a lawsuit, but he's the first person to win. And
He won?
He won. They had to reinstate him, and he's back on Twitter. I don't know officially when, like, he won, but it's been recent, probably within, like, literally maybe the last month or two.
That's amazing.
So, yeah, and so it's like now, I mean, he probably feels, I'm sure he feels relieved, but there's this, like, not only did I win, but I was right the whole time. Like, you guys were trying to hush me up, keep me out of the limelight, and I was right. I was correct the whole time. So anyway, I don't know. It's interesting. He was on Joe Rogan this week. It's pretty wild to hear the things that he had to say. I mean, he's got I don't have a lot of knowledge about the vaccine and COVID, but I know enough probably to be dangerous, but I don't know. I don't know.
I mean, I've read a lot, and I'm just not really good at relaying facts. So I try not to talk too much about it because I don't want to be spreading misinformation, but I've caught bits and pieces of both sides of it, and there was, oh gosh, is it Robert Kennedy? Is he the right-wing anti-coronavirus dude?
He might have been.
Some of his videos were banned, but he had this really good analogy or explanation, and it went back to when they were first testing out the SARS vaccine, and how basically when the first COVID vaccine came out, they basically just took that failed SARS vaccine and rushed it out. But what they had found when they were testing that several years ago on, I believe, was it ferrets, because ferrets have the most similar lung makeup as humans. And what they had found was, like, yeah, great. When they first did the vaccination, they did great for this period of time. But then they were having this reoccurrent health issue several months down the road. And the ferrets were, like, dying, and they just kind of put a halt to the research because they didn't really know how to fix that issue that came several months later. And if you'll remember, there was this surge of COVID several months after they rolled out the first vaccine. I was like, oh, that makes sense. That's what happens. Everybody, they're like the ferrets. He's right. But they banned that video.
Yeah.
And it made so much sense to me. It just clicked, you know?
Yeah, there is a doctor. Dang, I wish I could remember his name. He's been on Joe Rogan too. He's one of the inventors of the, what is it? mRNA, right? mRNA vaccine. So, but he's one of the dudes that invented it, one of the doctors. And he was saying things that went against what Fauci was saying. And they banned that dude off of everything. He's one of the creators of the mRNA technology.
Isn't that wild? It's so scary.
Crazy. Yeah, it's crazy, man. It's so crazy. And then, you know, and I try to tell people this. I'm like, you want to know when the government admitted without admitting that masks don't work? When they told everybody to start wearing 2. Think about that, though. Honestly, I know it's funny, but think about that. If a mask works, why do I need 2?
Good point.
So they're admitting right there that they don't work.
Right.
Like, honestly, I'm not even trying to be funny right now. Like, that's it's fucking madness.
It is funny though. Yeah, it is madness.
No, it is. I know it is funny, but I'm just like, but people bought it. I mean, I have
so hard.
In my family wearing 2 masks. I'm like, what is happening?
So hard.
Just some common sense. And then Biden came out, you know, there a few weeks ago, he had COVID.
A few weeks ago from today?
Yeah, he just had COVID like 3 weeks ago. Biden did. President of the United States had COVID.
Okay.
Comes out to give a speech wearing his mask. He's walking out. He's got his mask on. And before he starts to talk, takes his mask off, sets it down. What? You guys are telling us that COVID's so dangerous if we have it and we still have these symptoms, locked down this many days, blah. I mean, go through the list. And he walks out, admits he has COVID, takes his fucking mask off. There's a cameraman there, even if it's just one person.
Yeah.
You're now
right. If the mask
dumb
works.
Yeah. And then, okay, so if he didn't know he had it, so he had it. 5 days later, tested negative. And then maybe a week after that, he's positive again. So he had to lock down again. They're saying breakthrough. He had a breakthrough case. Well, I thought all these shots were supposed to be helpful.
Well, and so my mom back in, it would have been, let's see, COVID was in 2020. So the end of 2020, winter, fall, she had COVID. And because she was in the hospital so much and going to the doctor so much, it was always a routine COVID test needed to happen, right? So I believe it had been a month or 2 or something after. I may be wrong on the timeline, but she hadn't had COVID for a long time. She really never had any major symptoms. She's going in for a routine like endoscopy or something. And they do a COVID test and she's positive like several months after she had it.
Right.
And she was like, what? So they couldn't do the procedure, which really needed to be done. Mm-hmm. And she's like, I don't have COVID. Like, there's no way. I have nothing. There's no way I have COVID. This has to be wrong. It was, kept showing positive. So she didn't get to have the procedure. They rescheduled it. She's up at the hospital. They test her again, COVID. They go to put her on the COVID floor. And she's like, she fucking threw a fit. I don't have COVID. You are not putting me on a COVID floor.
Yep.
I don't have it. But if you put me on the COVID floor, now you're going to risk me getting COVID. And she fought tooth and nail with this nurse. She's like, you're not testing me anymore. For whatever reason, I keep testing positive. And, it turns out you can test positive for several months after you have it.
Yeah.
And so, who knows how accurate all those numbers are. But my mom, and damn feisty woman she is when she got an order put on her chart, and it was like, do not test this woman for COVID ever again. And they never did again.
Yeah. So we might have some new listeners that don't know much about your mom.
Oh, yeah.
I know that we've said, but just give a brief synopsis on like why she's in the hospital.
Yes. So my mom was diagnosed with pancreatic cancer back in 2018. She had a Whipple surgery done, which it's pretty rare to be a candidate for that. And she has struggled up and down and all around for the past 4 years. And she's still on chemo. She's done radiation. She's now on chemo treatments once every 2 weeks. And she struggles. She has a feeding tube because she's got some stomach issues. And so she hasn't really been in the hospital for quite some time, but I think she just got worn down. She has an infection. She had low potassium. They got that all situated, which, is just something that comes with being chronically ill. But she's a trooper, man.
Dude, it's crazy. 4 years, man.
Going on 5. It'll be 5 in May.
Yeah.
Dude, she was so funny. So we went to the ER Friday night. We got home at like 6:00 in the morning on a Friday and went home for a few hours. I knew she wasn't right. She was kind of loopy in the mind. She couldn't walk. I knew she was not well. She does not like going to the hospital.
Yeah, I'm sure.
She's like sitting at the table playing cards, like very ill, not going to go to the hospital. I'm like, well, I'm not going to take you in the middle of the night. So we're going now.
Mom,
and so, yeah.
Stubborn.
But we get there and she was so mad and she was being kind of rude to all the nurses and stuff. And they're like, sorry you're grumpy. And she's like, I'm supposed to go dancing tomorrow night.
Dang it.
And so she's just living life, having fun.
You
Going to the hospital cramps her style.
Yeah, it does. I don't blame her, man. I don't blame her. That would suck.
Oh gosh, yeah. No fun. No fun.
Well, we talked, and I hate to say this out loud. I'm very thankful that she's still with us, because pancreatic cancer, dude, I don't know anyone that's lived as long as she has. I'm just being honest. I'm not trying to be grim or anything, but I have several friends, either parents or whatever, close to me, man. Once they were diagnosed with it, they didn't make it 6 months. So your mom is badass.
She is a badass warrior.
Yeah.
She's got a lot of prayer warriors around her. She's got a good attitude. I really think that's key. She's not going down without a fight. That's for sure.
That's great, man. That's awesome. Mm-hmm. So good. Well, I got distracted. I'm sorry. The damn.
No, you're fine.
It just makes me crazy. So, what else is going on?
I turned down a job offer today.
Oh.
Yeah.
What was it?
It was just another job in the foster care field, which I'd been sitting on it for a while and decided to turn it down, and I feel good about it.
Oh, okay, good.
Yeah.
Would you have had to move?
No.
Okay.
No, sometimes the grass isn't greener, right?
No, totally. No, you're totally right.
Yeah. So that's about it. My almost had a crisis yesterday. My son and his girlfriend got in a fight, and I thought he was going to move back home, and I kind of freaked out. I was like, no, I don't care how bad it is.
We're not moving home.
You guys work it out.
Get married.
What can I do?
Well, I won't ask what happened. He probably doesn't.
No. But crisis averted.
Yeah, crisis averted.
My nest is still empty.
So there was a story we were talking about that. Yeah.
So in foster care, which, you're always taught not to talk about controversial topics, but we like to go there. So of course, the being in foster care, the abortion issue, the Roe v. Wade, has been a hot topic. So I had a friend message me this video about this woman who goes around. She was actually, a little backstory, I don't think I told you. This woman has been a foster mom. She's adopted children out of the foster care system. And she decided to start, and I believe she gets grant funding and she has a lot of public support. Sorry, I can't find it. There it is. I just don't want to
No, you're good. You're good.
misinform or talk about it wrong. So the headline is, this woman pays, where'd it go? Dude, I am not technological. Is that the word? Technological? This woman pays drug users. She pays drug users.
Oh, okay.
Female drug users. Well, actually, I don't know that if it's just female or also male, but she pays drug users to become sterilized. And so she has this RV and a group of people and a camera crew, and she drives around the country.
Oh, she's documenting this.
She's documenting it. She drives around the country and she approaches whacked out drug users and says, I'll offer you $300. You know, she'll ask them, like, do you use condoms? Are you sexually active? Do you have, a lot of these people already have children that they lost custody of or whatever. And she was like, what if somebody could give you money and pay for you to be sterilized? Would you do it? Absolutely. So then the controversy, you know, and the backlash that she gets is like, well, how dare you approach someone while they're in that state of mind? Of course they're going to take your money, right? They're drug addicts and they need money. But she actually goes back and interviews some of these people even years later who don't regret the decision. Some of them maybe have gotten other children back that they had lost. They've gotten clean and gotten their children back, or they're just flat out, you know, no, that woman was a lifesaver. There's no way I could have or should have, you know, brought a child into this world. So I want to be her friend. I've always said, if I ran the world, and this is not going to be the common, not everyone's going to agree with me on this, and that's okay. If I ran the world, if you had a child come into the welfare system or come into the foster care system, one of the first things you would have to do is get sterilized. Because you know how many women or repeat parents we have?
Yeah.
Like, oh, so-and-so, no, we're on our 6th kid.
Right.
Like, she couldn't get the first 5 back. You really think this time it's going to work?
Right.
So it's a problem.
Yeah, see, that's the problem too. Like, you've seen the dark side of it. And so someone that's listening right now that doesn't understand what you've seen or what I've seen, they very well might think that you're just an asshole.
The worst person on earth.
And that's a terrible, terrible idea. But there are 100% there are people that keep doing the same thing over and over, and it needs to stop. You know, what about the female that does get her life together but is now been sterilized? Like, because it does happen, right? I don't know how often. I don't know what the percentage is. It's probably not much, but as of right now, I can think of one person who had a child taken away, who later did become and is a great human who has a family and kids. But that's a small percentage. There's a small percentage. And I know it sounds really harsh. And of course, I haven't thought through all the logistics. It's a very small percentage. And yes. Yeah, what would be ideal, I think,
or maybe an IUD.
That's what I was gonna say. That's what would be, and this is why like you said, you haven't worked out the logistics. You have this thought, and there's two adults here right now communicating about it, not fighting. We're already
Right.
coming up with ideas. So
Right.
let this be an example. But yeah, there are ways that maybe we could sterilize them temporarily.
Temporarily. Like, okay, your kid's in the system. We need you to focus on not having more children right now while we're trying to get this one back to you.
Mhm.
You have to go in for a procedure and have an IUD. Once you complete your case plan goal and you get your child back, then we'll have it removed.
Yeah.
That sounds less harsh, right?
Yeah. Well, because there are going to be people out there that get their life together. And
Absolutely. And that's
capable.
obviously.
But you're right. Some of it needs to be stopped.
Mhm,
10 kids
mhm,
later, that's not okay.
mm-mm. No,
Not okay.
no.
It's not fair to those damn kids.
Oh
We're not,
gosh, no.
I'm not even worried about the tax dollars that we're spending. It's those poor kids. That's what I think about.
Oh gosh, yeah. It's out of control.
Hmm. It
It's
is out of control.
out of control.
So
I
wild.
don't even know the solution, but something's got to change. So people like this woman who are running around making a difference,
Yeah.
paying people to get sterilized. I mean, she doesn't feel bad about it.
Hmm.
Not a bit.
Damn.
So anyway,
Should have had her pay.
I was huh?
Should have had her pay for mine. I'm
I
sterilized.
mean to call her up.
This old boy ain't having any more kids.
What?
Negative happening.
Me
I'm too
neither.
damn old. But I got it done, man. They went in, snip, snip, snip. Dude, I was terrified. I was terrified.
Was it super, like, was it quick? Was it painful? What was it?
Okay.
Tell me all about it.
So I was working at the police department, and Cash was born. And so I started talking to some guys, and they were all saying, go to this one doctor. They'd all been to the same doctor. And they're like, it doesn't hurt at all. At all. They're like, I swear to God. They're like, no part of it ever hurts. And I'm just like, I can't imagine. I just don't believe you. But I went and talked to him. Decided to go through with the procedure. So first thing they do is obviously numb you up. And I'm just like, a needle does not belong down there for any reason. And I'm just sweating. I think they gave me a Valium too. I think they give everybody that wants one a Valium actually before they come.
One Valium.
Yeah, just to try to keep them cool because it's terrifying. So anyway, he's like, all right, I'm gonna numb you up. So I mean, just keep the story short. Yeah, he sticks a needle in. I don't even notice. I don't feel anything. I didn't feel the needle at all. He numbs me up down there, and as obviously he's got to make an incision, and he goes to work on the right side. And I if I remember, they actually like kind of tie a knot in there. I think. I don't know. I have to look up the science on that.
I don't know.
But whatever he does, he's got to pull on something. And so he's like on the right testicle. I felt not. He's like, all right, done. I was like, what? There's no way you're done with the right side. Like I didn't feel anything. And so he goes to the left side. And then finally, I just completely relaxed because I didn't feel the right side. He gets to the left side, dude. I thought he was pulling on my tonsils. It hurt so bad. I'm like, dude, it's hurt. I'm like, it hurts. He's like, I'm almost done. Hang in there. And I'm like turning bright red, and I scream like they can hear me out front. And as soon as I let out this loud scream, he's like, I'm done. And I was like, well, what the fuck happened, dude? Like the right side, I didn't feel at all. The left side, it felt like you were pulling my organs out through my balls. I mean, oh my God, it hurt. And all I can think of is he just didn't get something. I think he should have just maybe as soon as I said I felt like a tugging feeling, he should have like maybe numb me up some more.
Stopped.
But he just went for it.
Oh nothing, sure, nothing could be as painful as childbirth, though, I'm sure.
No, yeah, I'm not gonna argue that. Yeah, I can't imagine.
Oh,
Yeah, I mean, a football coming out down there, no way.
no way. No.
No, one of my buddies, they had a baby, week and a half, 2 weeks ago, and the kid was over 9 pounds. And I know, like, people listening will be like, "Oh, I know someone that had 10 pound or 11 pound," but dude, 9 pound baby, that's big.
Big.
That's big. I mean, when I was born, like in the 70s, if you had a 9 pound child, that was massive.
Yeah, they were like, what's wrong?
Yeah. Yeah.
What's wrong with your baby?
Yeah. No, it's crazy.
When I was pregnant, so I thought I was going into labor. And so we rushed to the hospital, get in there, and they're like, no, actually, the baby, it has its elbow in your kidney and you have kidney stones.
Oh.
And so we need to get you to pass these kidney stones. And they're like, and if you can do that, you can definitely do childbirth because kidney stones are so painful. So I don't remember. I don't feel like I passed the kidney stones. They ended up needing to induce labor because I was in so much pain and he wouldn't move. Like he literally was just like propped up, chilling out with his elbow just stuck into my kidney. And so they induced labor, which I don't know if you know, but when you induce labor, apparently it hurts more. I didn't know that until after. And I was in labor for like 20 hours, 20 or 24 hours. And it got to be like 30. I mean, I had been pushing and doing contractions for hours and hours and hours. And finally, it's like 11 o'clock in the morning on a Saturday. I'll never forget it. And this has been going on for so long. And like my family and everybody are like, fuck, we're tired. We're hungry. We're all going to leave and we're going to go eat because I was only dilated to a 2. And I'm in there. Everybody leaves. The nurses, nobody's there with me. I'm all by myself. And I'm laying there and I'm like, oh my God. And I'm like heavy breathing. And of course, I was young, early 20s. I didn't go to Lamaze classes or anything. I'm kind of like, if you don't know how to breathe, then you're fucking stupid. Like, surely I'll know how to breathe. So I'm like trying to figure out how to breathe. And I'm laying there by myself and I'm like talking to myself and I'm like, self, I think you're shitting yourself right now. Something's happening.
Taking that breathing class.
Yeah. Maybe I did need to go to Lamaze class because I don't know what to do right now. I can't breathe. I'm going to hyperventilate. So I'm trying to get the nurse to come in and they're already so irritated with me at this point. Like I'm just the most annoying patient ever. And I mean, going through the epidural and everything was a total, the anesthesiologist, he hated me. And so I'm laying there and I think that I am having the baby. And I tell the nurse, like, I think I'm having the baby. And she's like, no, you're not. Like, you're fine. You were only at a 2 like a minute ago. There's no way. And I'm like, I'm like not able to breathe. Like, please, you have to check. Something's not right. And so she checks and she's like, oh shit, you're at a 10. I'm like, fucking told you. And so she's like above my head where the phone is trying to get the doctor. And I'm screaming at her to try to get my family back up there. Cause I'm just there all by myself and I'm getting ready to have a baby. And luckily there's no terrible ending to it. Everybody was able to make it back, but like my mom and my mother-in-law and then my son's dad were all in the room. And my mom was at my head, like trying to put a cold washcloth on my head. And she was counting off beat. And I just remember like grabbing her hand and throwing the washcloth and telling her to stop counting off beat because I couldn't concentrate on my breathing because I didn't go to Lamaze class. I was like, but yeah, 30 minutes later, from a 2 to a 10, 30 minutes later, boom, there he was.
Damn, dude.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's no preparing for that. It's just something you have to experience. I mean, like my wife's labor was 100% the same as yours. So I'll spare repeating the story, but it was the same as yours. You know, they induced her. It was like 24 hours of labor. They did an epidural, but then somehow it had gotten pulled back or moved, and so it was no longer working. And
That happened
so
to me too.
yeah, so she gave birth naturally without an epidural. And but the point I'm getting at from the male side is, I mean, I was a medic. I understand how how the baby comes out head first. I get all that. I was expecting all that, but what I wasn't expecting was her to deliver a cat. Dude, his head starts coming
What?
out. Well, he had so much fucking hair. You saw no skin. I'm like, he's fucking giving birth to a cat.
Did she cheat on me with a
Yeah.
cat?
I'm like, this is not human at all. Like, yeah, I'm not, I'm not kidding. The top of his head is like halfway out, and all you see is a ball of hair. And I'm like, what the fuck is going on?
Oh.
But that's my point. Like, no one ever told me that was a possibility. And finally, the rest of him comes out, and I was like, "Oh, Jesus Christ, it is human." They look like a fucking cat coming out down there.
That's funny. You should write a dad's book and name it like your wife might give birth to a cat. Just tips on becoming a new father.
Yeah, dude, that was bizarre. And
That's
then my
funny.
buddy I told you that had the baby like a week and a half ago, he well, I was texting, right? And I'm like, how's it going? He's like, good. They induced her this morning. We're still waiting. She ended up being like you and my wife. It was just like 24 hours, dude, of labor. They induced her the whole 9 yards, and it was forever. But so I know he's in the hospital, and then my phone rings, and it's Jesse. So I answer thinking he's going to tell me they had the kid or whatever. And he's like, "Hey, what's up, man?" I'm like, "Not much. What's up? What are you doing? You guys have that baby?" And he's like, "No, no, 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 no." He's like, "Still no baby." He's like, "I'm headed to Taco Bell." And I'm like, "What? You can't go to Taco Bell?" Like, they've induced her. Not only did they induce her, but they induced her hours ago. So I'm like, I
The
would
baby.
please. And so I'm like, I'm also talking to another buddy that's with me. And so we were kind of making fun of Jesse. And then finally we're like, maybe she wanted him to go to Taco Bell. You know what I mean? Like, Jesse, get the fuck out of this room. Go get something. Go get some tacos. Go do something.
Right.
Get out of here. So we were teasing. Because he's probably like spinning like a top in there. Poor bastard.
That's funny.
But yeah.
I forgot to plug my computer in.
You about to die?
It is.
Well, that's all right. It's time to wrap it up. We've been on an hour anyway.
So I was trying to check our email to see if anybody had sent anything in. I don't know if you had checked it or not.
I have not.
It is quite full. We should probably just wrap it up because my computer's gonna die.
Okay. Well, thank you guys for listening.
Yes, and we took a Labor Day holiday.
Yeah, we were busy.
We were busy.
Yeah, we were busy. Shit. We had every intention of getting it out on Monday, but you guys will be seeing this on Wednesday. So what is it? Well, today's Tuesday, right? Yeah.
Yep. So, on Wednesday, we'll get back on track.
I'll get it uploaded, but yeah, we'll be back on track. But hey, thanks for sharing the train story.
Yeah, thanks for listening. And send in your emails, reportingfordutypodcast@gmail.com for any questions, advice, funny things.
Yep.
Hopefully we can get together soon so we can do some fun stuff together.
Yep. And make sure you guys share this, especially on YouTube. Share the video, like it, subscribe. I know it's you always hear people say that, and it's like so like in our heads now, but it really does help video or the page to get discovered. It helps. I guess I was reading about this the other day. It somehow tricks the algorithm and puts you like at the top. There's a whole like science behind that damn algorithm thing. So there is really benefit to liking it, subscribing, and sharing it. So yeah, please do all that. I hate to sound like one of those kids.
You sound like one of those kids.
Yeah.
Smash that like button.
Yeah. But it works. It does work. So do it. Yeah. So thank you guys for joining us. I hope everybody had a great holiday. Janelle West Coast, I hope your mom gets to feeling better soon.
Thank you. Thank you.
We're praying for her.
Thank you.
Yeah, totally. Anything else you want to add?
Tell your wife I said hi.
All right. Okay. Well, we'll see everybody Monday.
All right. Bye.
All right. See you. Bye.